Alright, it's something like 11:40. Still on our way to
Now
London.
we're on our way to London.
Now, here's podcast number 3.
Yep.
On our trip from
Kitchener to Oshawa, from Oshawa to Kitchener, and now to Kitchener to London.
Then
and we've been on the road for 6 hours now.
London to Kitchener.
Yeah, and then London to Kitchener, and then from Kitchener to back to London tomorrow.
And then after flights back home.
Absolutely. Whenever that may be.
Yeah, maybe Sunday morning.
Yeah, maybe Sunday morning. Probably going to be Sunday morning with the after party.
True. So outside of, like, we've done a lot of talking about the PFC and what's going on there. But let's talk about the fights that happened just over a week ago with the UFC 166.
Yeah, Houston, Texas.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Because we're not swearing on this one. We're going to keep this PG.
I cut out the swearing from the other one. Remember?
Yeah, but there was still a little bit of... Never mind. No
Shit!
Yeah. No. Hey, whoa.
That's just a nice one. Crap. So, UFC 166.
Yeah.
We saw from top to bottom.
Absolutely.
Just amazing fights. Like, headed off by, like, topping the night off with Cain Velasquez dominating once again, Junior Dos Santos, and just JDS just didn't even look in the league. That, you know, Cain Velasquez just got so much determination and raw. Like, that guy doesn't get tired. I don't know, man.
I mean, at heavyweight, too. I've never seen a heavyweight guy with that much gas in the tank.
So, and then what everybody's talking about is the Diego Sanchez and your boy, Gilbert Melendez. What a fight.
What a fight.
I mean, we were at a bar and everybody was on the, we're at Boston Pizza and everybody's standing up and cheering at a freaking bar. Like, that's got to be something you don't see every day.
Boston Pizza, in case you want to know, you might want to sponsor this podcast. Just putting that one out there.
But we watch all the fights at Boston Pizza in Cambridge, Ontario. So, unless we're at the fights.
Like tomorrow in London.
But there's a lot of good things coming up. What stuck in your mind over those, outside of those two fights?
Outside of those, well, first and foremost, I will touch on the main event. Cain Velasquez, through round 3, the shot differential, 323 shots landed for Cain, 23 for JDS. And I was a big, negative naysayer on that fight. I don't think the third fight should have happened. I think the fight that's happening next should have been in Houston, Texas, the Fabricio Verdum versus Cain Velasquez. It has been announced this week. Fabricio Verdum and Cain. There's rumor of it being the Ultimate Fighter, Mexico versus Brazil, but I guess that's been put on hold because of Chael Sonnen versus Vanderlei being the third installment on Tough Brazil. So, and then Diego, and that was such a war, Diego and Gilbert. But outside of those two fights, there was actually a bunch of incredible stuff. Like the John Dodson knockout is definitely something that stands out in my head right now. Daniel Cormier throwing Roy Nelson around for three rounds. And I see when Cormier does drop down, I think the fight that makes sense for him is you give Cormier Alexander Gustafsson, you give John Bones is fighting Glover Teixeira, and I say the two winners fight. Maybe it's Gustafsson Bones too, maybe it's Cormier Bones, and I say where Melendez goes now is Melendez fights TJ Grant for the #1 contendership. And they fight the winner of Josh Thompson versus Anthony Showtime Pettis. So we have a lot of upcoming fights coming up that are very exciting, very intriguing. But outside of that, I'd have to say the Dodson knockout. He flatlined buddy he was fighting. I can't even remember his name. It's probably not important because I think John Dodson probably knocked him out of the UFC. But yeah, so I'd say Dodson.
So now, tomorrow night will be one of those fights that we actually miss because of the PFC. Any thoughts on the fights tomorrow? UFC Fight Night?
The UFC Fight Night, other than the main event, it's not that great of a card. Like, you have Lyoto Machida making his return to 185 against Mark Munoz. I believe this is a permanent thing for Machida because Anderson's not beating Chris Weidman in the second fight. I'll say that. I picked Weidman in the first fight. I'm saying the exact same thing in the second fight. But Machida, I think he has a lot to prove at 185. His natural weight class, but his first time in the UFC because him and Anderson are like this. But I'm going to say Machida's going to finish Munoz in the first round with some crazy Steven Seagal kick or something like that.
Okay. Now, you said, what about 167? What do you have in the main event?
It's really hard to pick that fight. There's been rumors the whole camp about Johnny Hendricks having an undisclosed hand injury that's been rumored for a while now. There was talks of the UFC replacing him with Bellator welterweight champion Ben Askren's. That never came about. But I'm going to say GSP just because I don't know if that injury is legit or not. But GSP always finds a way to win by taking the guy out of his element. But that being said, Johnny Hendricks does have that powerful left hand that could finish the fight like that.
Yeah, I would think GSP, you're going to see, I don't know, I think he might, the last couple fights have been all his wrestling and takedowns, and I think this is going to go back to the old GSP that we used to see with his kicks and some elbows and his jab, and really try to play from the outside and kind of not, just frustrate Johnny and see what happens. But I mean, you never know. Johnny's got some crazy ass strength, so you don't know where that's going to go.
Not at all. And Johnny's also a Division 1 wrestling champion too, which can GSP really out-wrestle Johnny? Who knows?
True. Now, on the other hand, might as well touch on it now. I said we weren't going to do this, but Tito Ortiz injury, that fight's not going to happen. Did you ever see it happening?
To be honest with you, I thought it was a very big promotional scheme from the Bellator brand. They are moving the card to free TV now, while Spike TV, which is a cable channel, so I guess you have to pay for it, but they're moving it to free TV. It was an accident waiting to happen. They lined the card up with 3 title fights, and they were headlining it with 2 non-champions. So therefore, you devalued all of your titles by making the main event a non-title fight. Not taking anything away from Tito or Rampage. Like, I have the utmost respect for people like them that built the sport to where it is. But you devalue all your champions by making it the co-main event, the third fight of the night, and then the 4th fight of the night. So you devalue all your titles. And now you're also saying that our champions aren't good enough for pay-per-view. We have to move this to free TV. So, did I see it happening? Not really. Am I upset that it's off a little bit? But that's a fight that should have taken place 10 years ago. That's not a fight that we should be seeing in 2013.
Okay. Now, what everybody's talking about, Chael Sonnen versus Vanderlei. Coaches, tough Brazil. What do you think of that?
Well, first and foremost, Chael Sonnen, that fight, that season is not a guarantee right now. Chael Sonnen at UFC 167 still has to beat Rashad Evans in the co-main event. Can he beat Rashad? Does he walk away from that healthy? If you want to start shooting in January, can you walk away from Rashad Evans, former champion, and into a fight against Vanderlei? Not only that, the big news out of today is Chael Sonnen's calling Anderson Silva to be his co-coach. His assistant coach for the Ultimate Fighter. He wants Anderson Silva to come out, which should make for some entertaining TV. And if the Spider accepts, you had somebody that had bad blood for 3 years, and then all of a sudden that's out of the way and Anderson's the co-coach. So it'll be very crazy TV, but I don't know if we'll get to see it in Canada because it'll be broadcasted in Brazil, and who knows if that'll ever see North American TV.
Sounds good. So now that we've talked about a little bit outside and talked about the UFC and Brazil and everything else, now the UFC came out and announced 35 shows. What would you say you're most looking forward to seeing where they are going next in this 2014 season?
Where they're going in 2014, you know what? It doesn't matter where they travel to me. I don't care if it's in Russia. I don't care if it's in Japan. It really doesn't matter. It matters the fighters that they put on the cards and if the fighters bring it or not. You look at UFC 166, from top to bottom, they were incredible fights. And they had an amazing main event showcased by Kane and stuff like that. Going forward, UFC on Fox 9 looks very impressive from top to bottom. A free card for everybody. And that's main evented by Anthony Showtime's Pettis' first title defense against Josh Thompson. On that card, you have Sam Stout from London, Ontario. He's on that card. And that's like the second fight of the night. So that just shows you how stacked UFC on Fox 9 is. But when it comes to like location, it doesn't really matter to me. I'm gonna watch it regardless.
Now, in our previous podcast, we talked about, touched on Jesse Ronson, but then you mentioned a name, John Makdessi. John's coming off 3 solid victories over top strikers in the UFC. You got Darren Cruikshank, Sam Stout, plus then just now over Forte. Like, he's on a roll. Who do you see him other than Gross? Who do you see him maybe fighting next? Or Ronson, sorry.
You know what? As I said in the earlier podcast, it is a fight that didn't make sense. Like, I just heard it from another media outlet, the Ronson-Makdessi talk. But Makdessi, the most intriguing fight I can see for Makdessi on a 3-fight winning streak is Nurmagomedov. He's a guy in the top 10 of the UFC lightweight division. He's on an impressive tear. I believe he's something like, 18 straight wins or something like that. He's a young kid. Makdessi's owed, at this point, a top 10 opponent. There's nobody that he should fight other than somebody in the top 10. Do I think he should fight a top 5er? No, but I would say the fight that would intrigue me the most would be Nurmagomedov. 2 guys, winning streaks, one guy has to win, one guy has to lose, and it'll bring John Makdessi into the next plateau. Can he win? Absolutely. Everybody has a shot, but that's the type of fight that Makdessi needs, is that up-and-comer, both guys rising to the top 10 at the same time. And other than that, maybe Sayar Bazahardara or another 11, 12 type of guy. One of those guys that can bring him to the next level.
Sounds good. Now, to ask you, you've been watching the UFC now for last couple of years. You got your fighters and who you like, and is there a fight that you'd want to see over anybody, whether it's champion versus just one fight that you would say you would love to see happen?
Well, I was always a big negative on super fights. I hate super fights. If GSP ever fought Anderson Silva, neither of them, even when Anderson was still champion, neither of them would have anything to gain, and the sport would die after that. Nobody would buy another card after that, because you just saw the mecca of MMA. A fight that I really want to see right now. Wow, that's really tough. Currently, 2 current guys, I would say Gilbert Melendez versus TJ Grant. You watch TJ Grant's fight against Evan Dunham, and you see Gilbert's fight against Diego, and they're 2 wars. So why not put two guys that have been in 2 wars, unlimited gas tank, and I want that to be a 5-round fight. See if they have a muster to get through 5 rounds.
Hey, guy, that's on perfect. Now, just to touch a base on a couple guys that I've been interested in watching, is the comeback and kind of coming back out of the shadows there after a couple top championship losses. Frankie Edgar, coming off an impressive win, Oliveira, I believe. Yep. So, and that was a good fight. Then watching Cub Swanson coming against Seaver there down in Vegas. Out of those, would that not be a really cool fight to see, those 2 guys going at it?
Oh, it would be absolutely incredible. Frankie's one of my favorite fighters. I don't have anything bad to say about Cub Swanson. He brings it every single time he's been in the cage. But I think the level of opponents that Frankie's fought and the level of opponents that Cubs fought, they're on 2 different levels. And Frankie Edgar, for everybody, he's locked up for a long-term thing because he's doing the next season of The Ultimate Fighter. So, Cub Swanson, Frankie Edgar, fantastic fight. but for that to happen, you know, you the taping of that Ultimate Fighter doesn't start till February, so the fight's not going to be until May. So you're looking at next summer, next fall for a potential Cub Swanson, Frankie Edgar fight.
Us fans, we could always dream.
Oh, absolutely. No, it'd be an incredible fight, but it's just one of those things that right now, timing is not quite there.
Now, the fight, Hennenbrow, UFC 165 in Toronto. Yep. Did you find that I believe, from my point of view in watching that, he got launched backwards, but I didn't see his head snap back. Didn't look like he was out at all. Do you find that a little bit premature stoppage? Just because it was a cool kick, but he did not look like he was out. Did not look like he kind of rolled and he was right back up. Didn't even roll his eyes back. So I was kind of shocked at that stoppage. What did you think of that?
This is the thing with short stoppages, or a stop that should have been happening way before it was. Like, look at Kane versus Junior. That fight should have been stopped way before it was. The refs are always in a tough spot. It's either you stop it early and save the fighter and piss off the fans, or you stop the fight too late. And look what happened to John Fitch in his World Series of Fighting debut. Mazzagatti stood around and let the guy go unconscious, and his opponent had to actually let him out of the choke, flip him over onto his back and let him out 11 seconds after he was out. So, short stoppage, long stoppage. I don't think Wineland could have recovered. Do I think he was out? No, I don't. Do I think he still had a little bit more fight in him? Yeah, absolutely. But 15 seconds longer with a shark like Hennenbrow on you, I still think that fight ends. And it's very unfortunate for Wineland, because I actually gave him the first round in that fight.
I think you're going to see those two guys fight again. Not right away, but I do see that happening again. I think Wineland's just going to come back on a just even evil streak. He's going to, come from that and just go on a massive tear. I really like the way he fights. But about, moving forward, I think that'll bring us to the end of number 3. We're almost to London. Gonna go check out the venue at the Provincial Fighting Championships.
The Agriplex Center in London, Ontario.
So we're gonna check it out. Cage is going in today. It's almost midnight now, but still working hard. The guys are there. Production crews all setting up. So I look forward to seeing as many people there as possible. Trevor, any last words to give a shout out?
Well, once again, tickets are available still. Very few at the Agriplex Center in London, Ontario. PFC 1, the doors open at 5 tomorrow. Showtime starts at 7. 10 amazing fights. 2 female fights on the card. As well, main evented by London's own Chris, the Polish Hammer Hordeski. And tickets are available at profc.ca. 1-888-SIMRAN1. Or you can pick them up live at the Western Fairgrounds tomorrow. So I'd love to see you come out and enjoy the fights with us.
Excellent. And then we're also going to see you. Make sure you drop by a couple of good friends of ours. Street Soldier. They've been supporting the fighters quite a bit lately.
Since they started.
Yeah, and just you see them everywhere now.
Oh, absolutely.
Like grappling tournaments, everything. Like we ourselves, like we're at all these tournaments. You see them. Even with me with the Fear the Fighter stuff, and you see we've been working hand in hand together to support as many athletes as we can. And I really like guys like that. And there's so many, Kimura Wear and Combo Sports at Kitchener, and a number of different local companies that are coming out to support the athletes. And it's always good to see companies coming out and showing their support. And, I know Street Soldier's a big one. You're going to see them on a lot of fighters. And just keep your eyes open for some of those, and make sure you support those companies that really support the fighters. Make sure you support them, because they're the ones that help out, and those are the ones that we need to keep around.
Absolutely. Jay and Johnny are some fantastic people, and Christina. Those are the 3 people from Street Soldier. So definitely stop by that booth tomorrow at the Western Fairgrounds. I believe they're also at the grappling tournament in Toronto.
I'm not positive.
I'm not positive either, but yeah, any event you see those guys at, go up. Buy some sweet gear from Street Soldier. It's incredible stuff. It's great pricing on it. It's not like, you know, certain companies where it's like $160 a shirt. No, those are some great people, and it's at great prices, so definitely check them out.
All right, so this is number 3 podcast signing off. Peace.
Bye.